Okay, Sharon, off you go.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was just going to join in on a meeting. I thought something was going to actually be brought up and I was going to enter talk in that.
Well, in that case, we'd have to suspend standing orders, wouldn't we? So I'd rather you made a statement now, if you don't mind.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Sharon Thayer, and I've got some questions regarding the withdrawal of money for Canberra, their grant. And I'd like to know why the council have withdrawn from the 3 agreements, and why they didn't give us any notice, if possible.
Oh yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, but go ahead. Let's see if we can sort it out.
Sorry, Chair, I can answer that one because.
All right, okay, Vanessa.
I'm also a bit confused. We haven't agreed to do anything.
No,
As far as I know, the grant process is still in place and everyone is allowed to apply for grants as per normal. Nothing's been agreed so far, so I'm not quite sure what the question is and what it's.
Well, I mean, I volunteer at Canberra. I've been there for over 4 years now. And in December 2018, we were really excited to hear that we had 3 grant placements paid for 2019, 21, and 20 and 21, excuse me, to be sort of putting all of the funding in place, to be told that it's been withdrawn.
No, sorry, I think you've been given misinformation. It has not been withdrawn at all.
So we're still getting that grant then?
You can still apply for a grant, and all grants
we had applied for it and it's been.
So all grants need to be approved. All grants need to be approved. So you absolutely can be entitled to apply, and they'll be approved. I believe full council are going to look at all of the grants.
Obviously applied, and we already were given it.
So you can't apply for previous years and have it guaranteed for the future. It can be reviewed every year. But it still needs to be obviously gone through council. We have to approve it. We can't just guarantee it previous financial year.
Right. Can I bring John in there because he's got something to say about this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chair, but that's just factually incorrect. At the meeting of the Town Council that took place on the 3rd of December 2018, this council passed a motion that said it would pay £10,000 a year to young Melksham for the next 3 years. That motion was passed, it is minuted, it's a matter of record. Right. Those payments were to be made in September 2019, September 2020 and September 2021. What Sharon is referring to is when I had to report back to trustees and volunteers and staff at Canberra that the council was not paying us the £10,000 we were expecting in September for this year, because at the meeting 2 weeks ago that was held, council passed a motion, an amendment was made to the motion from officers, and council passed a motion that said that this year's funding would not be paid and that young Melksham would have to reapply for funding that they may or may not get in November. There was also an assurance that young Melksham were going to be written to explain the process. No correspondence has been received by young Melksham to this date. So the only thing that young Melksham know is that the £10,000 that was guaranteed to us from the motion that was passed on the 3rd of December 2018 has been withdrawn. And at some point in November, we may or may not be able to apply for additional funding or replacement funding, but we've never been communicated with to tell us what that process is.
Sorry, I have to completely disagree with you. It has not been passed at all to say that we were going to withdraw funding. You know the circumstances that we've had this year in terms of the delay itself, okay? Not just yourself, but a lot of other organisations as well have been put in the same situation where the grant funding has been delayed because of certain circumstances. It will be done, it will be sorted, and I really don't appreciate the scaremongering that you're trying to instill. We are going to go through the grants process. It's not fair at all to assume, especially to the people who are here tonight, that you are not going to get anything in terms of grant funding. It hasn't been gone through at all. And you can't say that Town Council is withdrawing that because that is not something that we agreed at all.
Yeah, that is right, John. That is
Chair,
right.
with the greatest of respect, Chair, as a point of personal explanation, which I'm entitled to do under standing orders, the council passed a motion on the 3rd of December 2018.
Right. Okay, John.
Saying there was 3 years funding. If that has not going to happen, it has been withdrawn. That is a matter.
No. I don't think so. I think you're, as Vanessa says, you're misleading people. It has not been withdrawn. You are perfectly able to apply for a grant, and it will be considered along with the rest of them.
So the funding that was already promised will no longer happen.
You may even get lucky and get more if you ask in a way that suggests that you need it, as many of the other organisations do. So that is what you must do. Now, again, as Vanessa just said, the reasons that you haven't been written to are quite obvious in the present circumstances. And I think you must just go along with that and do what you've been asked to do. Then we can have an argument about it, John. But until then...
Sorry, can I make a point of order that this is supposed to be public participation and it's not actually on the agenda, therefore we shouldn't be discussing this in a public forum?
Well,
unless it's on the agenda.
I want to end this item now, and that is the end of it, John. Okay, we will discuss it at the proper time and in the proper place. Right, now let's get on with this evening's agenda, please. Right, any declarations of interest on any of the many items?
I would like to speak as a member of the public.
Oh, there you are. Right, okay, Pam. Sorry, it says Richard down there. No,
I know, because I come on because it's easier than being on the phone.
Yeah, okay.
At your meeting last time, obviously the grants were discussed, the grants process was discussed. In the past, you have always guaranteed funding to Christmas lights, for the past few years, Young Melksham and the Citizens Advice Bureau. The only one that you agreed at the last meeting was Christmas lights. And quite honestly, out of the 3 of them, that is, as much as it's good for the town, you are also affecting people's work, because people go to things like Citizens Advice. We have the great need for it, and youth and Young Melksham. And I think you were I wasn't happy with the result as a member of the public, and I totally support what Sharon has said.
Right, thank you very much for your comments, Pam. Is there anybody else before I move on who wants to ask a question? Sharon, if it's about the previous item.
No, I just sort of, obviously I haven't been to one of these before, so I'm not sure and don't understand the setup. I have got concerns regarding the youth of Melksham, but I'm really shocked at how quickly I've been shot down. It's just like,
only because it was irrelevant for the question to be asked in that way, and I think you need to talk to John about it. So let's move on, please. You're very welcome to ask a question about anything else. Is there anything else you want to ask?
No, I just would like to point out that I did hear Vanessa cuss when the other lady came on as well.
Excuse me, I did not. Excuse me, I did not.
All right, let's move on, please. Thank you very much. Right, any declarations of interest, please? No, right, so minutes. To confirm as a correct record the minutes of the virtual extraordinary full town council meeting held on the 14th of September. Does anybody have any issue with any of the items? Nobody at all, right. Would somebody like to propose them as a true record? Thank you, Adrienne, and seconded by Hayley. Right, thank you very much. All in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've lost count. Sue, is your hand up? Can't see it. Right, I think it's 9. Right, is there anybody against?
Chair, I was absent from that meeting.
Oh, right, okay, thanks, Sue. Right, and anybody abstaining? It would appear not. Okay, thank you. Right, number 4, item 4, appointment and approval of working groups. Councillors are advised that the current town hall staffing complement will make it very difficult to service additional working groups, and it is suggested that whilst the working groups can be established, they only become active once the full staffing complement is achieved. Right, the first one is the major projects working group, to approve the terms of reference for the working group and to appoint the chair, vice chair, members of the working group. Right, who would like to speak about that? Adrienne?
Thank you very much. Sharon, if you want to give me a ring at any time about grants, I will quite happily update you as to what was said. Yeah, I've got a few concerns about this particular item. I'm happy to go along with it. I am very concerned that we're saying that we can't actually do major projects until our staffing complement is sorted. And I would like to refer this item, accepting it, but referring the item to the HR subcommittee, because there are some projects which we simply have got to get sorted. One of those is the east of Melksham community centre. That is absolutely vital. We can't turn around and say, sorry, we haven't got any staffing to be able to sort that out. Grants could be another one that we're talking about as well. There's an awful lot of things which need to be sorted because of COVID and that we are late and delayed doing. And I would like to refer this to HR subcommittee, having accepted it and accepting the terms of reference first.
Right, okay, anybody else?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Shall we take a vote on that? All in favour? Right, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and myself 7. John, are you not voting?
I'm abstaining on that, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, 7, I saw 7 hands up, 1 abstention. Is there anybody against? Can't see anybody. Right, okay, thanks very much. Right, the finance working, we need to appoint a chair, vice chair and other members of the working group. Should we do that now or?
Well, we don't know who's on it.
Well, no.
Can that be
Okay.
deferred and dealt with later?
Yeah, defer it, yeah. Right, what about the finance working group? Do we have a finance working group? I thought we did.
Well, we're going to have a finance working group because we're going to have to start looking at the budget. Again, we can't say we haven't got the staff to do it. We've got to sort something out.
Yeah, we have to.
Oh, right, okay, and the same for the CCTV working group, which is another thing that really is quite important.
Well, can I actually recommend that we have an HR subcommittee next week and that we sort all this out next week at HR sub?
Okay, I'm in favour of that. So
Through you, Chair, I believe on the calendar of meetings, there should be one for next Monday.
yeah, I've got it in my diary.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we could do that. Would that be okay, Linda and David? I don't know who's going to do it.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know why that note was put in the agenda because this council agenda was done before I was back at work. So that is not from me.
Sorry, I'm not with you there.
This about we can only start working groups when we've got a full complement of staff. That has not come from me.
Oh, thank you, Linda. That's really helpful.
Right, okay, noted. Right, have I missed something here? Is that item done now, David?
Yeah, I just want to say, Chair, that I put that comment on the agenda some time ago when we were without Linda and without Patsy, and I just couldn't see how we could conceivably service all these working groups. And of course, events have overtaken us. We're now pleased that our complement is back towards being full again now.
Yes, yeah. Well, once we've got the committee clerk working, we'll be in a lot better situation. Right, okay. Item 5 then is Shernhold Fields, and there were quite a few little things here to note. To receive the minutes of the Shernhold Fields working party meetings, I was.
Sorry, Chair. On item 4, are we not appointing the chairs and accepting the terms of reference then?
Not at the moment. We're going to defer it, John, because we've got to sort out the dates and one thing and another.
So that will come back to full council to confirm those posts.
Yes, after the HR meeting, which will sort out hopefully a great deal more than just these working groups. Right, okay, Shernhold Fields, just to receive the minutes. I was there at both of them, and I will certainly tell you that they are, a true record, a very true record. Teresa writes very good minutes, very, very complete minutes. So note those. Right, estimated costs for the next works at Shernhold Fields. Note the budget reports. Anybody want to make any comments about it? We only need to note it. Adrienne?
Well, I'm sure John will agree with me on this one, but I was at CAT-G with John. John was chairing it on Thursday, and I'm not entirely certain what I can say within the public domain, but there was an officer who certainly wasn't very happy that some of this money might be going towards the car parking entrance. I think I'll just leave it like that. John, would you think that's a fair place to leave it?
Well, I think the point that the officer was making was that the money was the section was it 106? Yeah, 106 that provided money gave a specific purpose that money had to be spent for. And he was concerned that the CAT-G was starting to consider using that money for a number of things and not the matter it was originally given for. However, my interpretation is slightly different. I think that what he was basically saying is make sure you do what needs to be done. But if you do what we were talking about at that meeting, it's not going to cost very much. So there will still be funding available to help with other things. But you've got to make sure you've done the project that needs to be done first. But what the CAT-G has done is now made that process one of its priority projects. So hopefully we'll be able to bring that to a conclusion and have a clear identification of what funding may or may not be available. But he did point out that we need to spend the money on what it was intended for before we start spending it on something else as well.
I think, you know, that's interesting, isn't it? Because that's how two people at a meeting can think of different things. I actually felt that it was far less positive than John is putting the spin on at the moment. I felt that it was much more unlikely that we would get that money for that. But yes, I say we both sat and listened to it. So, you know, John knows the officer better than I do, which may have something to do with it. But I would just be a little bit concerned that we might not be getting that money. And I would just like that to be registered.
You can't guarantee that money, that's for certain. But there wasn't any spin being put on anything, Adrienne, just a factual recollection of what happened.
Well, mine's a factual recollection, John, but it's a different factual recollection from yours. And you and I both heard the same words. And I've got a different viewpoint than you have. So it's all I'm saying is I put my spin on it and you've put your spin on it. It doesn't make any difference.
Okay, right. Okay, thanks very much, both of you. I'm sure we gleaned a lot from that. Right. So that's note the estimated costs. Right. Item 5.3, Shernhold Fields car park and entrance improvement project. To approve the use of S106 monies from the George Ward Garden Development for the improvement of the highway at Dunch Lane, to be used for the visibility display at the entrance of Shernhold Fields. Note, this can only be used for highway improvements and its use has already been approved by Melksham without parish council. So we just need for us to approve it. And I'm quite happy to propose that. Will anybody second it? Thank you, Vanessa. Can we have a vote on it, please? Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Can I just make a point on that? I'm supportive, but I just want to point out that I believe these are the Section 106 funds that we were just talking about. So it's not for this, it's this council can make a recommendation about their expenditure. We don't decide how they're spent.
Yes, right. So we're recommending, and I'm just going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Clive, are you voting?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, thanks. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I make that 12 votes in favour, 1 abstaining. That's right, yeah, because Martin's not here. Okay, thanks very much. And 5.4, request for the erection of a flagpole. To consider a request from Councillor Carter, a Melksham without parish councillor, to erect and maintain a flagpole in Shernhold Fields. He just thought it would be a nice thing to have. What do other people think? Vanessa?
I'll propose that.
Okay. Anybody else? Hayley? Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, happy to second that, definitely.
Okay, fine. Shall we vote on that then? And nobody's got anything to say against it? Right, okay, let's vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sue? 8. I can't hear you. 9, 10, 11.
I'll vote for it, Chair, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens now because, of course, Melksham without parish voted against the idea.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that
So-
until after we've done ours, but yeah,
Okay,
it'll be interesting to see what
but
happens.
that's the fact.
Yeah, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Richard, are you for it or against it?
Didn't hear that, Richard.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll vote against, please, Pat.
Okay, one abstain, 1 against, and the rest of us were in favour. Okay, thanks very much. And approve costs of the tree nursery fencing. £108. This we decided that this needed doing because we lost so many of the other trees, well, which is not abnormal. But we needed to have a little tree nursery, and we thought that it might be a good idea if it was fenced off from marauding animals.
Can I just move we approve it, Chair?
Terry wants to speak first. Oh no, oh right, she doesn't. Okay, right, okay. Yeah, I would propose that we approve it. Do I have everybody's vote? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thanks very much, everyone. Good. Right, now the neighbourhood plan. I think that this would best be dealt with by you, Tony. Yes? Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes.
I thought it was highways improvement next.
Item 6.
No, neighbourhood plan.
Okay.
I must have a different agenda to everyone else. Item 6 says highways improvement request form on mine.
I've got the same on my agenda.
No,
New agenda was sent out on Saturday afternoon.
Number
I
7.
think David can explain.
or Friday it was, sorry, 25th, 10:51 in the morning. John, there were a whole bunch of attachments, a heap of attachments, like 15 or 16, and one of them.
But the agenda that says Wednesday 28th of September final in capital letters isn't the final version.
I printed mine off at the weekend. So, sorry, I mean, we can do highways next if you like, but
I'm just trying to work out where we are and what we're doing.
Okay, right. Well, anyway, let's get on with it. Neighbourhood plan.
Okay, do you want me to fire away?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, I can't see anything. Oh, okay. So hopefully people have had a chance to have a look through the notice of motions, which I've proposed and Adrian has seconded. So there's a couple of issues to resolve for the neighbourhood plan. Firstly, on this issue, can I say that the parish, can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, okay. The parish have been very accommodating on a number of issues recently, and the intention here is to accept or go with the proposals that Melksham Without Parish Council have made as far as possible. There's just a few improvements, if you like, or just clarifications that we need to make. So on sill sharing, Melksham Without have kindly offered that all of the additional sill monies that they receive once the neighbourhood plan is completed and adopted should go to shared joint projects. But I think I would like to, and I'm proposing that we just clarify that a bit more clearly. So if you go down to motion 1 of what I'm proposing, what I'm suggesting is that additional sill monies should not just be for shared projects, but also those projects within the town which are used widely by people across the whole of the community area. So projects like KGV and the improvements, additional toilet facilities in the town, assembly hall improvements and renovations, and any other community projects which might come forward from the town centre review that's going on. And so all of these projects, all of these facilities within the town centre are used widely by people across the whole community, not just residents of the town council. So that's motion 1, that we respond to Melksham Without Parish Council proposing that additional SIL monies should not just be spent on joint projects between councils, but also on those types of community facilities within the town. So that's motion 1. And the second motion is just to clarify the wording within the neighbourhood plan, which is item 8, is it item policy 8, whereby I'm suggesting we accept all of the changes that Melksham Without Parish have proposed, and those are the wording which is highlighted in yellow and blue and the additional text in red. But I'm suggesting the additional text is red, is just varied slightly. Shall I read that out? A memorandum of agreement will be put in place between Melksham Without Parish Council and Melksham Town Council, setting out the terms for the sharing of SIL or any replacement funding system. The memorandum of agreement will include a statement of priorities for infrastructure needs and civic amenity projects, which will be reviewed annually and agreed jointly between the town and parish councils. And I'm just suggesting some additional wording also, so that if SIL changes in the future, because we understand the government are reviewing it, and it may be SIL will be removed, but there may be some other alternative funding for parish councils. So I'm suggesting we ensure that the wording allows for that. I'm happy to take any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Tony? John?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wanting to properly understand, and I'm not entirely certain I do at the moment. On the first motion, it seems that if I interpret it correctly, it's taking the proposal by the parish that the additional funds go into a pot for being spent somewhere across the neighbourhood plan area on things, and just putting a whole list of things in the town into it, and nothing from the parish in it. And I'm just concerned, the conversations I've had with parish councillors about this, I haven't had any pushback from them when I've spoken to them about there are facilities that are in the town that parish residents use and that they could contribute towards through the additional SIL, just as there might be something that comes down the line where there is something in the parish that town residents might use and contribute, and SIL from the town contribute towards that. And I'm just wondering why we need to create a motion which I think potentially could be seen as putting up barriers, or trying to just say, here's a load of stuff in the town that's got to be paid for by the joint SIL pot, when I think there is consensus across both authorities already that the joint SIL pot would be spent where needed across the two parishes. And we had before, I thought, a proposal on the table that there was a joint group made up of members from the town and the parish that would make recommendations about where that SIL spend should go. And I don't understand why we need to put this list in there, which I think is only going to ruffle feathers in the parish. Now, there's members of the parish here this evening, and they might correct me on that, but I just feel that we're passing a motion saying, really, we want all the money spent in the town, and I'm not comfortable with that. I have to be honest. I think that if you're going to do the neighbourhood plan,
well, John, can I answer your? John, can I answer your question?
Finish making my point before you talk over me?
I've asked for questions
Chair?
and you seem to be making a speech.
Chair?
John, you did say you had a question, but you appear to be making a speech. Can you just get on with the question, please?
Well, the question is what I was trying to ask, Chair, which is why are we putting in all of these items that are purely within the town
We're not
boundary?
putting in, John, we're not putting in any items. I've just tried to give some examples of the sorts of facilities which are used, which are located within Melksham Town Council parish boundary area, which are used relatively widely by residents across the joint community area, and which are, as the town expands, you know, we can expect a massive increase in the population of the town in forthcoming years if the local plan review happens as expected. And these facilities are going to need to be improved so that they can cater for the vastly increasing population of the inverted commas town. The fact that the parish boundary is within that town area means at the moment that we're not receiving the funding necessary to carry out the improvements that will be needed. All I'm suggesting is, rather than the wording joint, inverted commas, joint projects, that we say that we would want that monies also to be made available for these projects which are used by people right across the joint community area. And this, you know, this is just a suggestion, because we know we're still in a negotiating phase with the parish. And if they come back to us and say, look, we're likely going to have some projects outside of the Melksham Town Council area where we're going to similarly need some funding, then these are conversations we can have. I'm not suggesting for a moment we don't have those conversations.
Right. I would be interested to know if either Richard or Teresa have comments to make, and if so, I will suspend standing orders for a few minutes for them to make it. Please indicate whether you would like to say something or not. No, neither of you? Okay, fine. Has anybody else got anything to ask Tony? I'm not seeing any hands up. Oh, Adrienne?
I do want to ask Tony, but I'm happy to come in afterwards.
Okay.
John, have I just, sorry, Chair, through you, John, have I addressed the points you made, or do you still have any concerns?
Well, I do, but I'm just going to get cut off whenever I talk about it, so I'll just wait to the vote.
No, you won't. You know, make a short point and I'll address it, but don't make a speech and then try to ask me to remember something you said 10 minutes ago.
Right, okay, Teresa has indicated that she would like to say something, so I would like to suspend standing orders so that she can say it. Do I need to take a vote on that, David?
Yes, you do. I'll second that.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Everybody in favour? Thank you very much. Okay, Teresa. We can't hear you, Teresa.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I would just be mindful of, if that is what you're saying, that you're not prohibiting things like if you needed to improve something from Melksham Oak, which is in the parish, or Oakfields, or Bower, things that are in the parish that town residents use. It's a two-way street, so that would be my only word of caution. And obviously this would go back to Melksham without Parish Council next Monday.
Okay, thank you, Teresa.
I think we need to, you know, sit down and work it through a bit more.
Okay, right, thank you. Okay, standing orders have been reinstated. Okay, so are we just, so what action am I taking? Oh, Vanessa, did you want to speak?
So I was going to say, Tony, do you have an actual proposal for us?
Yeah.
Well, I propose that we adopt the motions 1 and motion 2 set out in the notice of motion.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, I did ask to speak.
Yeah, Adrienne.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, no one's going to be surprised that I think the town council want to put in some civic amenity projects. And I totally take on board what Teresa has said as well. And I'm just wondering if there's a way round that. I think it's absolutely vital to say that the town and the parish have been working amazingly well together over the last 6, 8 months, year on trying to finish off the neighbourhood plan, trying also to look at the fact that a lot of SIL money is within the parish, and the parish are actually bending over backwards to be very supportive about putting SIL money into big community projects which happen to be in the town. I just think it would be a good idea to have that in writing, because things change. And I just think that, you know, the infrastructure needs and civic community projects, as well as projects within Melksham Without as well, of Melksham Parish Council as well. Can I put that in as an amendment? So after civic community projects, civic community and large parish projects, it doesn't have to be large, and parish projects which will be reviewed annually, because that to me seems to get round the issue. But it is important that there's extra 10% that we're talking about if we get the neighbourhood plan. We are only talking about the extra 10% here. We're not talking about the 15%. We're only talking about the extra 10%. So it's important that I think that everybody understands that when you have large house, and I know that Melksham Without Parish Council do understand it, that when you've got large housing developments going up, and Melksham Without are inundated at the moment, that's going to have a massive knock-on effect to Melksham Town. And we need to be putting in writing that that is something which we need to be discussing with them.
Right, thank you.
So I have put an amendment.
Just quickly, Chair, I mean, bear in mind that Melksham Without will still receive the bulk of the SIL monies. But I'm quite happy to add to the wording I proposed, perhaps add to the end, new sentence. Likewise, Melksham Town understands there may be projects within the parish which are used by the whole community in a similar manner.
Okay, yeah.
Words to that effect.
Yeah, thanks. Vanessa, then John.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's also important to remember, you know, right now we know obviously there's a lot of development in Melksham Without, but you know, nobody's got a crystal ball into the future. But what we do know is that there will be significant development in the town as well, and we need to ensure that Melksham Without are also benefiting from that as well, and that we, you know, work together as good neighbours, because that's what, you know, good neighbours should do. And you know, that's important to remember. But we're talking, you know, this particular plan that we're putting in place now, we're talking not just for the very short term. This is going to be something that obviously needs to be reviewed long term as well. We're talking into the years, decades, long after, you know, we're all not here anymore. And so this is just the first step. But yes, it is all about making sure that we're taking care of each other and continuing to talk to each other as well.
Yeah, thanks. John?
Thank you, Chair. 2 points, please. Could I ask for a separate vote on motion 1 and motion 2, first of all? And secondly, I'd just like to point out that to a very large extent, we're not only talking about the additional 10% here. We're seeing with the contribution that Melksham Without Parish Council is voluntarily making towards the new community hall for the 450 homes east of Melksham behind Snowbury Lane. And the parish voluntarily handing over a substantial sum of SIL to help the town council build an enhanced facility for those residents. That actually, I think we have moved past that point, that there was there before of them and us, and it's being seen as one patch. And by us producing lists of our projects and asking the parish to accept that we must list our projects but not list anything that might be wanted in the parish, I just don't see it as necessary, and I think it's not helpful. So I just don't think we should have that wording that motion 1 is suggesting. I've got no problem with motion 2.
Right.
Can I come back on that, please?
Yeah, please, Tony, because I'm a little confused now.
Because at the moment, Melksham Parish Council have used the terminology joint projects. Now that means anything within the town council area, I don't think could be considered a joint project. You know, a joint project is something like a cycle path that goes from Melksham Without into the town. That is the sort of thing which I think would be considered as being a joint project. I don't think we could go to Melksham Without Parish Council and say, look, we've got a lot of work to do in KGV. Can we treat it as a joint project? They'd have every right to say, no, that's not a joint project. So I believe we need an agreement with them, which enables us to seek funding for these facilities, which are used widely across the joint community area.
So which recommendation are you hoping that we will vote in, Tony, just to make things completely clear?
I'm proposing the wording as stated in motion 1, with an additional sentence referring to the fact that, yes, if there are projects within the parish which are of similar nature, which are widely used, and that would mean widely used by town council residents as well as Melksham Without Parish residents, then that should be considered in exactly the same way, of course.
Right, thank you. Richard?
Thank you, Chair. I've got to contest what David's saying about, say, the King George V playing fields. We've got the splash pad there, which is used by children from inside the town and obviously outside the town. That at the moment has been funded by town council and other funds, that we should be open to the view that some of the town facilities are used by Melksham Without.
Yeah, I think that is generally accepted, Richard. Right, Vanessa, and then I want to put it to the vote.
Yeah, sorry, it's just making the point going on what Richard said. It goes vice versa as well. There's a lot of facilities, especially open spaces in Melksham Without, that are heavily used by the people who live in the town. So it goes both ways. So just friendly reminder, it goes both ways.
Okay, what is the point of having separate votes for option 1 and then another separate vote for option 2?
It's my request, Chair, as I'm entitled to do, because as I said, members may be supportive of one motion and not the other. So there are 2 motions before us. It's perfectly legitimate for us to ask for a separate vote on each of the 2 motions. Perhaps I'll make that easier for you, Chair, and I'm going to formally request a recorded vote on each of the 2 motions.
Okay, right.
Seconder.
Okay, let's have a proposal. I'll propose the vote for motion 1. Will somebody second me, please? Right, Adrienne.
But has John got a seconder for his motion?
And well, we'll do that second.
I don't need a seconder for a motion to ask for a recorded vote.
You still wanted them separated out, though, didn't you, John?
But they are 2 motions. It's called motion 1, motion 2.
Okay.
They are 2
All right.
motions.
Fine.
Yeah, that was why I needed a little bit of explanation there. Okay, so who would like to vote for motion 1? And I'm writing your names down.
Can you please repeat what the motions are, just so we're all clear?
Tony, can you just briefly repeat what motion 1 is, please?
Okay, motion 1 is, it is proposed that Melksham Town Council respond to the offer made by the parish in the following manner. Would you like me to read it all out?
Yes, please.
The Town Council, I would expect that whoever is writing this to the parish would have a pleasant introduction paragraph before we go ahead with this following wording. The Town Council is of the opinion that the additional funding received following completion of the neighbourhood plan should be made available not just for joint projects, but also for projects relating to facilities, civic amenities, within the town which are available for and used by the whole joint community area. Projects such as KGV improvements, additional oblique improved toilet facilities, assembly hall improvements, oblique renovations, and other community infrastructure projects which may come forward during the forthcoming town centre review. All of these civic amenities are available for and widely used by the whole community, not just residents living within the Melksham Town Council parish boundary. And then we add another sentence just clarifying that any joint projects within the parish which are similarly used widely by the town council residents should fall in that same category.
Okay, right. Vanessa, is this important?
Can I just make a friendly amendment to that, Tony, that we include the vice versa, which is if the parish need X amount, that it's not a joint project because it's all within their area, that we also look at that as well. So it goes both ways.
Yes, I think I've covered that.
I think you have. Yeah, right. Okay. Right. So who is for that? Can you put your hands up, please, so I can just note it down?
Sorry, Chair, I've asked for a recorded vote.
Oh,
I'm recording it, John.
No, you need to go through one by one.
I've got a roll call here.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. For myself, I'm for it. Vanessa?
For.
Jeff?
For.
Hayley? For Hayley. Sue?
Abstain.
Right. Adrienne? For. And Terry? For. And Richard?
For.
And Mike?
Against.
Right. And then we've got Tony?
For.
Tony, for. And Clive?
For.
Right. So we've got
excuse me, Chair.
yeah.
John.
I'm sorry, Sorry, John. I forgot all about you. So you're against. Yeah.
I've got, if it helps, I've got everyone's name here on a roll call.
Thank you, Linda.
I vote, please.
Sorry?
Can I vote, please?
Oh, did I ask you, Linda? Right, okay. And your vote, Kathy, is? For. Okay, right. Okay, so we've just got Sue abstained, Mike and John against, and everybody else is for. Yeah, okay. So
didn't catch Councillor Fiorelli's vote. Sorry.
For. Thank you, Linda. Right, so motion 2.
Councillor Mitcham, I haven't got what he voted.
Oh, where's he gone?
Voted for.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. I just going to say I did call your name, yeah, and I've got you listed as a 4. Yeah. Okay, is there any point in taking a vote for motion 2?
It's carried.
Yeah, I was going to say it's carried. So sorry, John, you lost that one. Right, okay. I think that one's done then. Shall we move on?
Sorry, Pat, don't we? I think we do need to vote on motion 2.
It's a motion 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you voted on motion 1, not motion 2 yet.
Yeah, we need to do 2.
Oh, right. I was going to say, because there's so many people voted for it and we'll vote against motion 2. I just wondered why there was any point to do it. But anyway, okay, right.
It's a separate motion. It's different to motion 1.
All right.
And
Okay.
Chair, I have not requested a recorded vote for motion 2.
You haven't?
No.
Do you want one?
You
No.
won't? Okay, right. Okay, so all those in favour of motion 2?
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Can you remind us of motion 2, please?
Right, Tony, can you remind us of motion 2, please?
Okay, motion 2. It is proposed that Melksham Town Council respond to the changes sought by the parish in the following manner. The Town Council agrees with all changes proposed by the parish, but considers the supporting text would better be expressed as follows. A memorandum of agreement will be put in place between Melksham Without Parish Council and Melksham Town Council, setting out the terms for the sharing of SIL or any replacement funding system. The memorandum of agreement will include a statement of priorities for infrastructure needs and civic amenity projects, which will be reviewed annually and agreed jointly between the town and parish councils. And I'm also suggesting that there's a proposed change in a preceding paragraph that all community infrastructure levy or any similar replacement scheme is referred to in the wording. Yeah.
Right. Right, so now I ask for a vote. All those in favour of motion 2. Hayley, I've got Hayley, Sue,
Sorry.
and John, and Vanessa, and Kathy, and Terry, and Mike, and Tony, and Clive, and me. Right, okay, right. So nobody against and nobody abstaining. Oh, lovely. Right, okay, thank you. You got all that, Linda?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, right. So that's sorted then, hopefully. Right, let's move on to the highways one.
We've not got to agree draft policy 8 that's part of the motion.
Oh, do we?
What's that?
I'm a bit lost. Can somebody help me, please?
That was what we just voted on, Linda.
Right, that's right. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I thought
Just voted on that, Linda.
Playing a massive catch up. Sorry.
Don't worry.
You're okay.
Right, now the highways motion, which was item highways improvement request form. Right, I'll keep it brief, but I had a call from Don Millard, who lives at 91.
No.
Oh, sorry. I had a request, a call from a resident who isn't on email, and he's actually not very well at the moment, so that's why he's not at the meeting. So I'm speaking on his behalf. But if you will just think about the area around the Foresters and Snarton Lane and the top of Sandridge Road, where it meets Church Lane and Blackmore Road. It's a very complicated set of roads, most of which either weren't there 20 or 30 years ago or have become very, very busy since. And he's very concerned. Vanessa, what's the matter?
Sorry, I've got a lot of feedback coming through.
Yeah, I can hear a bit. Can anybody hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Anyway,
I think
he's very concerned about the safety of everybody and the traffic in that area. But the main...
Sorry, the feedback's still really bad. Could I just ask that anyone that's not speaking mutes themselves, and then that feedback should stop?
I can't see anybody who hasn't. Clive, are you on mute?
Sorry, I think it might be oh yeah, Linda and Patsy, because they're both in the same building, so it might be that.
Oh yeah, we've had this before, haven't we? Right, but anyway, the particular bit that's really concerning, and I'm hoping Cat G can address, is Maple Close, which has a walkway coming out of it onto the main road, Sandridge Road, just opposite the garage. And when you come out of that walkway, the pavement there is very narrow indeed. It is literally less than a couple of feet. So, and also there's a hedge of this gentleman who, and so you can't actually see traffic coming very easily. And people do come down there in wheelchairs and with push chairs and children and all the rest of it. There's no barrier out onto the road. And if there were, it would probably obscure the ability of people to turn there. Everybody has to go into the road, and anybody who's got wheels has to go into the road to turn the corner because the pavement is so narrow in that spot. And whilst it would, my dream would be that the whole area was remapped and resurfaced and the whole road system sorted out into maybe one giant elongated roundabout so that everybody was a lot safer. The fact is that we need a barrier of some kind at that point. And this gentleman has actually offered to donate a triangle of his garden, which would enable the path to be widened. And he means to donate it. He's just said he'll give it. I've been advised by Mark Stansby that there would be some costs relating to the legal fees that would need to do that. But that's the issue. So it's a very complicated one in terms of what we can or can't do, and it's not going to be cheap. And as I said, I think it's a long-term project. But the most important thing at the moment is something to stop people from actually just coming straight out. And kids on bikes was another thing. They just come out of the Maple Close and they just whiz round the corner. Lorries, you've only got to stand there for a couple of minutes to see what the problem is, because lorries are passing at speed, having gone round the roundabout outside the Foresters and the other one opposite Church Lane, and they start speeding up and they're passing literally within inches of you, even when you just stood on that pavement. And it really is an accident waiting to happen. I mean, this road was once a lane and now it's a very busy road. So I would like to pass it to CAPG for discussion to see what they can do to sort this out. So all I'm asking for here is approval for something to be done, for it to be passed to CAPG so that we can see what can be done. Hayley, you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you. I fully support this. More than happy for it to go to CATG. I experienced a near miss actually just earlier this week, having to walk up Snarton Lane on the school run because of a pathway being closed off. And it's not just children on bikes from the Oak, it's young children, it's parents with pushchairs, all using that area to do the school run. And at the moment, because there's considerably more people on foot doing those school runs because of the current situation as well. So I think it's highlighting a lot more safety concerns than ever before. And this is something that's long overdue. So yeah, I fully support this, going to CATG and to just start the discussion on where we can go from here.
Yeah, and of course, the more houses that are going to be built, the bigger the problem is, because people will be walking to the co-op and, it's just so dangerous. John.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute you on the wrong computer because I've pulled up, Chair, the advice that was sent to you by Mark Stansby from the highways team, because I just think that there was definitely a problem on this stretch of road. There's no two ways about that. The path does become very narrow, and one of the challenges is there's very little sort of estate within the road to be able to widen the footpath. I think if the town council is going to ask the CATG to consider this as an issue, what the town council does need to be aware of is exactly what that means financially for the town council, because Mark has been clear about some of the potential costs that would be available. And he's made it clear that this would not qualify as a social distancing project, nor is there any Section 106 money, meaning the only route available to progress this would be via the CATG. He doesn't think this is a significant issue with footfall relatively low, but the town council and the CATG might view this differently. At other locations involving free dedication of land, the council have agreed to demarc changes to a boundary on a like-for-like basis. And I think this is Mark's biggest issue. So that is replacing, for instance, post and rail fencing with new post and rail fencing. He's uncomfortable with asking the CATG to go to the expense of building a wall, which is likely to be the biggest expense of the entire project. He's also pointing out that CATG funds cannot be used to pay for the legal fees, which will be upwards of £1,000 associated with the land dedication process. This would be at the expense of the promoter of the scheme, which would be either the resident or the town council. If we were, as a town council, to pass this matter through to the CATG, I think it likely that, I mean, obviously the CAT-G couldn't pay the legal fees, that they're not allowed to. I think it likely the advice of officers would be that the CAT-G shouldn't use its fund to pay for the building of the wall, which is requested. So that may be a cost that would fall to the town council if the town council wants to progress it. Personally, I see no reason why the CAT-G shouldn't be able to support the remainder of the project, though. So I think that it is something that could go forward to CAT-G. I just think the town council needs to be mindful that this could have, when I say a significant cost, we'd probably be talking £2,000 or £3,000 cost associated with it on top of the contribution that would be paid to the CAT-G. However, I'm also mindful of the fact that we put £10,000 a year in our budget aside to match fund CAT-G projects, so there would be money within our budget to pay for it. So I certainly wouldn't oppose it on budgetary grounds in that respect. I just think we need to be fully aware of what the highways engineer is saying to the council.
Yeah, thanks, John. Vanessa, I'll ask you to speak in a minute, but I didn't mention those two items because I have since spoken to the resident and he has agreed in principle that he would pay the legal fees and that he would accept a replacement hedge. So they could well be things that we don't need to worry about. Okay, so that would make it a lot easier to negotiate. Vanessa.
I was actually, John sort of already answered my question. I was going to say, in terms of, our responsibilities as a council, what could we potentially be looking at financially? And although, Pat, I think it's really, it's very sweet and very kind that this person has offered to pay the legal fees. I think because it's something that's going to benefit the residents of Melksham, surely it should be something that we as a council should be looking at taking accountability for. Not sure what everybody else's thoughts are.
Yeah, I've got a question for John in your capacity as chair of CAT-G. No, I'll let somebody else speak first. Yeah, because it might come up. Yeah. Anybody else got any questions?
Haley had her hand up before.
Haley, yeah. Oh, she's already spoken. You want to say again?
It was just an add-on, really. It's just that I was obviously wary of what the financial implications would be, and I was expecting John to say a total much more than he said. And quite honestly, £2,000 to £3,000, as far as I'm concerned, is nothing when you're thinking about community safety.
Yeah.
I think that's a drop in the ocean, and I think it's money very, very well spent. I would happily approve double or even triple that, to be honest, in my opinion, because it's, what price can you put on the safety of the people that we're here to represent?
Yeah, right. Going back to the issue of S106 money, John, there will be more of that coming. So would that be a suitable project? Doing that whole junction, would that be a suitable project for S106 money?
Thank you, Chair. No, unfortunately, current legislation is such that Section 106 funding nowadays can only be spent on effectively the development to which it relates.
Oh, right.
The issue that we were talking about early on with Dunch Lane, that Section 106 funding came about before Community Infrastructure Levy came in. Okay. This would be a project that you could spend SIL funding on, but it wouldn't be a project that you would be able to get Section 106 funding on now, because there's no direct impact on any of the new housing that will be being built up there.
Okay, right, just a thought. Right, thanks very much. So can I propose then that we pass this to CAT-G? Can I have a seconder, please? Thanks. I'll have a Haley. Right, and can I have your votes, please? So I'm struggling with the CAT-G.
Can I just suggest, when you send this to CAT-G, Chair, it will be very helpful, because I think we'd all like to see this go through at CAT-G. Yeah. So it would be very helpful in the referral that goes to CAT-G that it's made clear that either Melksham Town Council or the resident will be meeting the cost of the legal fees and making the necessary arrangements with regard to the wall or whatever. Yeah. Because that way, those are the big, it's very clear from the feedback we've had from the highways engineer, those are the hurdles that would be in the way. Yeah. So we can cover that off.
Yeah. I felt when I was reading his emails and the other one from Andy Cadwallader, they were both very keen on getting something done, if at all possible. So yeah, okay, right. All in favour? Lovely. Thank you very much. Let's see what we can do with this one. Okay. Next one. 8, communication to parish councils. To receive and note the communications of parish councils about the boundary review. Does anybody want to make any comments or ask any questions? No? Okay, fine. Right, now number 9, financial reports. To receive the August 2020 month-end financial reports. Linda, do you want to talk about this one? And I know Mike has a few questions, but I don't know if they've all been answered yet.
Yeah, I can't really talk to it because I haven't had access to the accounts package. That was only enabled for me today at 4:30. So I haven't been able to interrogate the accounts.
Okay. And Mike, have you had any of your questions answered yet? I'm referring to the email you sent today.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have had many of the questions answered. The one that remains outstanding is the tenancy of the roundhouse. I understand that the tenancy is ongoing with a member of staff, but the accounts don't show any income for the period in question, which is a little bit of a concern.
Oh, right, okay. Doesn't that come up somewhere later? Right, okay. Adrian.
Yeah, just to say that I emailed Linda this afternoon about a few bits and pieces that I wasn't happy about or concerned about, like Mike had, and I'm quite happy to wait a little while for the answers. But one of them does concern the amount of solar farm money that's being shown. So she's going to come back to me when she's ready, and I'm more than happy with that. Thank you.
Right, so are we going to defer this then? Or do we have to make a decision about it or anything? I mean, can we just note it or defer it, or what do we need to do with it? Linda?
You can note it. It's not for a resolution or anything. It's just to bring members up to date with where we are with the budget.
Oh, right, okay. So, right, okay, well, we've noted it then. Thanks. Right, calendar of town council meetings. David, are you going to speak to this one? I'm sorry, Vanessa's got a hand up. What was the problem, Vanessa?
Can I speak?
Not really a problem. I just wanted to speak on this item if I could.
What,
but I think, yeah, but I think Councillor Wiltshire was first.
Yeah, okay,
You have
Richard.
dealt with the payments made.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Dealt with payments made.
I didn't hear all of it.
You haven't dealt with the item payments made.
It's all under the one item.
It's all under the previous item, Richard, which we only had to note. Did you want to ask a question about one of the payments?
Yes.
Right, which one?
There are several on there relating to the Ellis Witham and the locum clerk as well.
Right.
They amount to about £14,000, with more yet to come. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so there's about £14,000 to come there in those accounts, and you've also got other sums to come in, which could well bring the cost of your actions to about £30,000 with this council.
So you're just making a statement here. You're not answering your question.
No, the question is, do you accept that they are a result of your actions?
Point of order. That's really inappropriate.
That is not a question that I can answer, or I'm
subcommittee. So can we move on to the next item, please, Chair?
There's a vote of no confidence in the 4 of you at the top of the council for the muddle and expense you've made and cost this council.
Well, I think that you need to take this item to the HR committee, Richard, and I don't think
it's this for this meeting, but it was excluded by Steve Milton. He didn't take the issue down as a motion, but the motion is no confidence in the 4 of you at the top of the council for causing this huge expense to the ratepayers of Melksham and disturbance to the staff.
Right, well, thank you for your statement, but I am not going to call a motion for a motion of no confidence. It just simply isn't relevant at the time being, and we will move on to the calendar of town council meetings. Vanessa, you wanted to speak about it.
Yes, lovely. So with the calendar of meetings, I've just got it in front of me, sorry. I know that the previous one had on their HR subcommittee meeting for next week. It seems to have disappeared, but from my perspective as a member of the HR subcommittee, I just feel that the frequency of the meetings needs to be stepped up to be able to deal with all of the, I guess, the activities we want to move forward. So I'm actually proposing that we look at weekly meetings for the HR subcommittee in the interim to be able to manage things in I guess, in short spurts rather than things piling up. So we've got, giant long agendas that have to be dealt with and extraordinary meetings and all of that. So I'd like to propose a weekly meeting, ideally not on a Monday night, because that would interfere with other normal council meetings. So, probably, I don't know, Wednesday or something along those lines to be able to ensure that the HR subcommittee can meet on a regular basis.
Right, okay, well, I'd like to endorse that and propose that we do that. Jeff, and then John.
Yeah, I can't always do Wednesdays because I've got
That's fine.
drama club as well. I'm a chairman of that committee as well. We only have a meeting once a month, so we could fit it in somewhere along the way. But...
Well, there'll always be people who can't turn up. I mean, I might have an area board meeting on a Wednesday, but we can always sub somebody. So, John.
Thank you, Chair. Just how many HR issues are there that we don't know about that would justify a weekly meeting?
Yeah.
Sorry, HR, if you look at the terms of reference of the HR committee, they're pretty limited. I cannot comprehend just what could be going on that requires a weekly meeting of the HR committee.
Right, well, Vanessa can explain that.
Well, it's not really explaining it, just going back to the terms of reference are not limited. They're actually quite extensive in terms of all the things that the HR subcommittee have to deal with. And so in terms of being able to manage things appropriately for the interim, we do need regular and frequent meetings, to be able to take on recommendations from the clerk, to talk about other issues as well. It could very well be that there's really nothing on the agenda, and so we either defer the meeting to the following one, but at least for the interim, I mean, it's not ongoing, it's not forever, but we do need to have regular, frequent meetings.
Right, Hayley.
Yeah, thank you. It may be that you don't need to have one every single week, but if they're scheduled in, then if there is an item, it can be dealt with in a speedier manner than having to wait for, an available date to come up because of the other calendars of meetings. I mean, Wiltshire Council meetings, quite a number of them do get cancelled due to lack of business, and they're only monthlies, and then it carries over. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that there's time on the calendar allocated for any matters as they arise. Not saying that there will necessarily be things every single week, but I do think it's good practice to ensure that time is made for those matters. Yeah.
Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Does the revised calendar of meetings still result in our planning meetings clashing with those of the parish?
Afraid so. Again, it's because there aren't enough nights in the week. Adrienne.
Yeah, I would have been happy for them to have been on Tuesday, Mike. I think everybody was. In fact, we absolutely love it when we can have both Richard and Teresa at our meetings. It really is incredibly helpful. I think the problem with the HR one is that there's one in October and one in April. And regardless of how much HR work is going on, I honestly think you're going to need more than one every 6 or 7 months. We've already actually just earlier on today, I've referred something to HR, which is on staffing, and that's going to take up the whole of one HR meeting. And quite honestly, I don't think you can then wait until April to find out what's happening about it. So I do think we do need to have quite a few HR meetings at the moment, and then hopefully they would, that they wouldn't be quite so necessary after 3 or 4 meetings. But you can only have so much on an agenda, and I think this is the way that we're going to be working as a town council and all councils for the rest of this civic year. I don't think there's anybody who thinks that there's going to be any change to Zoom meetings before the middle of next year at the very, very earliest. And they take a lot out of people. We know they take a lot out of people. They take a lot out of our staff as well. They take a lot out of councillors. I'm sure we've all come off Zoom meetings and gone, oh my God, can I take another one of those? So you have to keep the agenda items down, because you can't go on for 3.5, 4 hours. It's you have not got the brain capacity. I defy anybody to tell me they've got the brain capacity to do it. So I'm going to be voting in favour of quite a few initial HR committees.
Yeah, and I'd also like to think that they will serve as a good opportunity for myself as mayor to catch up with Linda as to what's happening, what's going on, and for us two to have a chat about what is happening, because at the moment that's getting very difficult. Well, it was very difficult before, and it is even more difficult now. So they will serve more than one purpose. And as Adrienne said, I don't think they'll go on for the whole year. It will just be because at the moment we do have quite a few issues that need resolving. Vanessa, and then I want to take a vote.
Yeah, and Sue's got a question as well. So Mike has now said it, oh God, how many times, Mike? This is probably about the flows that, in particular, our, planning economic development meeting to a Tuesday night, so that we can work a little bit more collaboratively and cohesively with our neighbours. And I'd really like us to not sort of brush over this one again, because I think it's been amazing, and I'd love to continue it, especially because we've got this flexibility with Zoom. But I don't know, again, Mike, you've suggested the Tuesday night meeting. I'm happy to second that again as another proposal. I know we've already got one on the table to adopt them, but I don't know. Can we finally get this through? What do you think, Mike?
Well, can I propose an amendment to the motion that the economic development and planning meetings in the weeks they are scheduled are moved to the Tuesday night instead of the Monday night, please?
Yeah, I'd second that. Okay.
Cool.
And before we move on, I've got the 7th of May next year. Not only is it the day after the election and the day of the count, but it's also a Friday. That can't be right, surely. But that's for the Chairs Committee.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, you want to speak, Vanessa?
Well, Sue wants to say something, and so does Linda.
Oh yeah, Sue. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just an observation, really. I mean, obviously, the last few weeks, you've been talking about the pressure, and Adrienne's been talking about the pressure. What I found most frustrating was the fact that we're having so many meetings which overlap. So we weren't getting the minutes of certain meetings, and yet we've got another meeting to get into. So, and I don't want to put the pressure on the clerks and officers too much to pressurise them to get minutes out in a few days rather than, 10 days or something like that. So this thing about maybe once a week for HR, I'm a little bit unhappy with that, but I'm not on the committee.
Right.
Thanks.
Well, just to say, Sue, we have got a committee clerk starting soon, so that shouldn't be a problem within the next few weeks. So, who else was it that wanted to speak?
I think Linda wanted to say something.
Linda, yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's two things. The annual meeting's been put in, annual town meeting's been put in for the 26th of April. In an election year, it's sensible to have that after the elections, so the public can address the new administration.
Right.
I don't quite understand what the 17th of May next year, we've got include an annual council meeting. That will be the annual meeting of the council, just to clarify that.
Well, what's the inclusion then?
I don't know. I haven't done this because I think it was done in my absence, so I haven't had any input into this.
Yeah, well, I checked it through my diary, and most of the dates are the same as the one we had in the middle of the year anyway.
Oh, right, okay.
Right, but anyway, so those are the changes. Shall we just ask for the changes to be made and then bring it back? Vanessa?
Sorry, Chair, I was just going to say, with all due respect, I know April and May are a long time away, but given the COVID situation that we're still dealing with, I have a feeling that those dates will probably need to be changed. And I'm not even certain, this is me personally speaking, if we're even going to be able to, if the government will allow us to even, hold elections next year, or maybe much later. So I don't think it's wise to stress about something like that, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
So what you're suggesting, that we just leave it as it is for the moment and make changes as and when we need them?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's, yeah.
Chair, I think the advice from the clerk that it's good practice that the annual town meeting should take place after the date of the proposed elections is advice that we really should take on board. The government have issued updated guidance making it very clear that they do intend to hold the elections in May next year, and they've made it clear that they do not feel that they will be necessary for them to be post-only elections. I can tell you that Wiltshire Council are already booking polling stations. So whilst none of us know what's going to happen down the line, we need to work on the principle that those elections will take place, that there will be a new council, and therefore the annual town meeting really should take place so that members of the public can speak to the new council, not the outgoing council.
Yeah, okay, right. So where does that leave us all? Just with the same, apart from the fact that the 7th needs changing for the...
No, Pat. So the proposal was to adopt the calendar with changes to the HR subcommittee to be weekly Wednesday night meetings.
Yeah.
And Mike made a friendly amendment to also add in that economic development meetings would move to a Tuesday night to allow flexibility with our neighbours. And I think Tony wants to speak as well.
I can't see him at the moment.
I just
there you
wanted to
are.
ask Vanessa,
yeah.
Sorry, if she thought that perhaps fortnightly meetings of the HR committee might be adequate. What do you think?
I think it eventually would easily move into fortnightly. I'm just conscious that in the interim, there might be things like Hayley was saying before, things need to move very quickly, and rather than having to call an extraordinary meeting to deal with things quickly, if we've already got things on the schedule, then it might be easier to manage. But that's not to say that we can't start off with weekly and then move to fortnightly, and then eventually, ideally it should just be monthly. But it depends on how quickly we can get through things. But it's to try and avoid having those lengthy 2-3 hour meetings. My aim would be, and my hope would be, is that these HR subcommittee meetings are just a very quick update from the clerk, quick decisions, no more than half an hour, 45 minutes on a regular basis, and then obviously move to fortnightly. As it's just got to be flexible. But if we've already got it booked in, it means we can deal with things pretty quickly.
Okay, well, I'm happy to second that proposal as amended.
Okay, yeah,
Thank
you. Right, so that's Mike's proposed it, Tony's seconded it, and let's have a vote on it then. All those in favour of that proposal?
Is this just the HR proposal?
No, this
is all the changes to the calendar,
including the changing to Tuesday. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Vote, please, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sue, are you voting? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Lovely. So is that right? If I missed anybody? Oh no, that's right, because Martin's not here. Okay, right, thanks. 13, right. Getting there. Right, Wessex Water to consider report.
Indicating he wishes to speak.
Sorry?
David was indicating he wished to speak.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask him to speak about this one. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify on the previous item that if we can defer the annual town meeting till after the date of election, that is appropriate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I was going to invite you to speak on the portable water supply unit, David.
Right. Thank you very much indeed. As councillors will no doubt be aware, Wessex Water have planned with us to put a potable water supply point on the marketplace close to the town hall. And the principle behind this is to allow residents of the town and visitors to the town to use recyclable water bottles and refill them, rather than go and buy once-used plastic bottles and then throw them away afterwards. The problem or the difficulty we've found is that in order to get to the water supply pipe, the flags on the marketplace are bound to a very solid base by an adhesive. And Wessex Water are saying that we're going to need to get Wiltshire Council to come back in and help reinstate the work, and the extra cost will be just under £1,300, which will be to our account. Now, I'm hoping that they will be able to make a contribution towards that, but I just wanted to make councillors aware and to ask for your authorisation to make the best possible negotiation with Wessex Water to facilitate this. But the other query and question that I've got is if we put a water supply point on the marketplace in the current situation, and members of the public are going to be using it, and it's a hand touch facility, then it could become a COVID-19 magnet. It could be a point of transmission of virus because we don't know who will be using the facility. I've had a chat with Devisers Council who have had one put in, and they're going through a daily sanitising procedure of the facility that they've got, which will be identical to ours, in order to keep the unit sanitised. The problem is that after sanitisation, potentially the first person to use it could contaminate it again, and of course it would be perhaps the next day before it's sanitised for a second time. So really, I just wanted your guidance as to how you'd like to proceed with this. My recommendation to you is that you authorise me to negotiate the best possible terms I can with Wessex Water, and secondly, to defer the installation until the COVID-19 current spike goes back into a level where it is the risk is more acceptable to us.
Yeah, okay. Right. Three of you, Terry, and then Mike, and then Vanessa.
Thank you. I don't know where there had been discussion as to where the point was to be put, but looking at the front of the town hall, there is no water supply there. But if it were put towards the back of the town hall, where the round pipe pumps are, it's just adjacent to the water supply from the gents' toilet. Not that I wish to use that, but you know, and that I would have thought would be a cheaper construction things, because it is, and I certainly agree with that nothing should be finalised until all COVID restrictions are lifted. Thank you.
£1,300 isn't a great deal of money anyway. Right, who was next? Vanessa or Mike? Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question in the same vein as Terry just said. Why can't the fresh water supply be taken from the public toilet block and mounted on the outside wall? It'd be a lot cheaper, a lot more straightforward and easier to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Vanessa?
Yeah, I was just going to say, could we look at just going ahead and getting it done, and then once it's installed and everything, still covering it up, you know, making sure that people can't use it until we know it's safe to so, you know, hopefully that won't be too long, but Could we do that?
Okay, John?
Thank you, Chair. I think that was a sensible suggestion from Mike with regards to locating adjacent to the toilets, and certainly I think that should be explored. I do think we should make the decision that we want to do this. We've been bouncing it backwards and forwards on many an occasion, and I think maybe I'm not sure if anyone has actually moved anything yet, so maybe I'm going to propose, or Linda's raving at me though, so maybe they have. But if they have, then maybe in a friendly amendment to whatever it is, that we say we are happy with spending up to £1,300 if that's necessary, but ask that officers investigate whether the unit could be affixed to the walls there. Linda's still raving no, so I suspect the answer on this is going to be no. But I would suggest strongly that we don't install this until we can make it available for use. I think if we put the unit in and then stick a cover over it, we're just asking for trouble. I think that let's make the decision to do it so officers can get on with it the minute that it's able to be used. But let's not have it sat there with people thinking that the council have put it in and it doesn't work, because all we get is all the things about we can't even put in a water fountain properly.
Yeah. I think we should make a decision. Linda, and then Vanessa.
Yeah, Wessex Water have done a survey, and there is a water supply at the front of the town hall where they want to locate it, and that's where they want to locate it. So even if we did take a water supply from either the public toilets or the gents toilets, the cost of reinstatement would be the same. Can I suggest that you leave it with me to update David on the work that was done several months ago? And obviously, if members want to wait until it's safe to install it, because it wouldn't look very good to install it and then not to be able to use it. And we'll report back, but it wouldn't be any more than the 1,300. But yeah, Wessex Water have already been in communication, surveyed, and that's where they say it should go.
All right, thanks. And Vanessa?
Thank you. Yeah, point taken about obviously installing it and then covering it up. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. It sends probably a bad message. But this was discussed back in February. I'm not sure if everybody recalls, and we did actually resolve then to, even though we obviously wanted this to go ahead, we were concerned about the location of it being right out the front of the town hall. I think it was more about trying to keep, it wasn't really more making it in keeping, but it was the fact that you've got this lovely stone building and then we're going to put this, you know, plasticky, metal-y thing right out the front of it. And I think the resolution was to ask the officers to look at different locations. So I'm not sure if everybody recalls that one.
Well, I remember it coming up, but I don't remember the decision. But
I think Adrienne does.
Yeah, okay. Right, so
sorry, can I just come in and say something, Pat? I do remember it because I think it's been me that's been pushing it for 3 years. I think every time I've spoken to Linda for the first year she was in post, it was what's happening on the water supply. The problem is Wessex Water are putting it in free of charge. They want it in a particular place. I don't know whether I spoke to Patsy or Linda about it. It was one of them, or even David. They want it there. It's a shop window for them. Okay. They will not have it anywhere else. So if we want it free of charge, you know, then we're going to have to go with where they want it. Otherwise, we're going to be paying for it. So, and I totally agree with John. It shouldn't go in until such time as we're, you know, COVID secure, whatever we want to call it. But Wessex Water want to put it in a particular place. They are paying for it. I think that's actually what you've got to get your head round. If you want it paid for, you can't always have it exactly where you want it.
How much is it? How much is it again?
1,300.
No,
that's the extra cost.
That's the extra cost. How much is it? Linda, do you know how much it would have cost? Like if we said we want it in X spot.
We haven't asked that question.
Do we dare ask that question? Or just leave it?
Can I make a point?
Yeah, I was going to say, Tony.
Yes, I certainly agree that we shouldn't be installing this until it's safe, completely safe, hopefully when COVID-19 goes away completely. But I think we also need to be asking, you know, this is supposed to be an environmental issue, and I think we need to do an environmental cost-benefit analysis You know, spending an extra £1,300 on top of Wessex Water, whatever Wessex Water might be spending, I wonder if that's, you know, that is a good cost benefit. And yes, we've just heard someone say that this is almost advertising for Wessex Water. Perhaps it will be cheaper for us to put our own supply in adjacent to the public toilets at very little cost. We could probably do it through a local local plumber and save, you know, maybe £1,000 if we don't have to spend £1,300 digging up the marketplace and putting something which might not look very nice on the front of the town hall.
Okay, Clive. You have to come off mute, Clive. Right.
Yeah, Tony just asked what I was going to ask, because I couldn't see why a private plumber couldn't do it, why it had to be Wessex Water. I mean, what is it, a couple of meters, a couple of pipe, tap on the end?
Clive can do it. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thanks. Right, so we need some kind of a decision on this. I mean, I think the decision is that we want to do it. It's just a question of when, isn't it? And in the meantime, Linda could perhaps ask that question about how much it would cost to go if it went somewhere else, and perhaps also inquire as to how much a local plumber might charge. Would that be okay, Linda?
Is that a proposal?
Yeah, that's my proposal, yeah.
All right, well, I'll second that.
I mean, the proposal is that we decide to do it, and then after that, we just decide how to do it.
No. So your proposal is we agree to do it, but ask the clerk to investigate options of doing it privately as opposed to going through Wessex Water.
Well, and also to ask Wessex Water how much they would charge to put it where we want to put it, so that we know exactly what we're going to be letting ourselves in for. Okay, so have I got a seconder?
Okay, well, I'll second that then.
Thank you, Vanessa. Right, can I have your votes, please? I can't see anybody against. Right, lovely. Thank you very much, everyone. Right, next thing is the residents' tree planting scheme. David, do you want to talk about this?
Yep, thank you very much, Chair. The first project I got involved with when I came to Melksham actually was a tree planting scheme in late last winter. And you know, we spent a bit of time creating all the collateral for it, and it was very popular with residents. The problem we had was that residents of Melksham without. Sorry, Vanessa, do you want me to jump in?
No, I'm just trying to make sure that Pat knows I want to ask a question.
Sorry, I was just looking through my paperwork, but go on.
So yeah, the issue we had was that some of the residents of Melksham without were quite keen to get involved as well. And of course, being a town council funded project, we couldn't fund tree whips for residents outside of Melksham town. And interestingly, a lot of residents did not realise which parish they lived in. So yeah, it was an issue. But where the trees were given to Melksham town residents, they went down very well. And I've had some communications since, some of the photographs to show how well they're growing. So you know, the project has some longevity. Tony is keen that we look at doing it again this year. It'll be relatively easy to do because we have the booking system, we have the collateral, we know where the tree nurseries are, we have preferred species. It'd be a very easy thing to roll out. But I've had some exploratory discussions with Melksham Without Parish Council, and subject to their council agreeing it, the clerk there is keen to be involved. So we could actually do this together. That the project could be offered across the residents of both the town and Melksham Without. It would be co-branded, we'd use the same collateral, we'd order together, we would distribute together, we would manage it together, and the costs would be apportioned according to the demand for the tree whips. So my recommendation to you this evening is that that the scheme operates again during this coming winter, that the formal agreement for Melksham Without Parish Council is sought to join with us in a joint project. If Melksham Without decided they didn't want to take part, that the town should carry on and run the project for its own residents, and that we allocate the same maximum budget this year as we did last year, which is £1,000, and recommend it comes from the budget code of 4179 for tree planting, should you be minded to agree it.
Okay, thanks, David. Have Melksham Without been asked yet?
Informally, yes.
Informally, okay,
Informally,
right.
and there is support there. But if tonight that you're minded to go ahead, then I would formally ask Teresa to get the agreement from Melksham Without as well.
Okay, Mike, and then Tony. Oh, and then Vanessa.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to move that we support this proposal.
Yeah, thanks. Seconder, Tony?
Yes, I'll second that. I was going to move it. Mike got there first, so I'll second it.
Great. Vanessa and I, Terry, did you have your hand up again? No, okay. Vanessa.
Right, so just a couple of things. I'm really glad to see this one back on. Obviously was really successful last time round. But yes, please, I'm really glad to hear you saying, David, that we're going to obviously ask our neighbours about being involved in this too. It's really important because I know there was a fair bit of interest from residents of Melksham Without as well. More just a couple of points. If we do go ahead with it, and Melksham Without obviously happy to do so as well as a joint venture, how would the logistics work in terms of picking up the whips? Obviously, we need to put in some COVID safety measures involved. So really clear instructions for when people come to pick up their whips, you know, social distancing, all that stuff. But also, would Melksham Without Parish Council be okay with it all just being organised and the collection point being KGV, or would they want different collection points around the parish, obviously being their parish being quite large as well? So that's just a thought. And maybe if Teresa's there, just in an informal manner, if Teresa maybe wants to sort of just give her thoughts on that, if she wants to, and if we're happy to suspend standing orders to do so.
Yeah, I'm happy to suspend standing orders if you've got anything you want to say, Teresa.
I don't think so, no. We successfully, for the Melksham community area, took all the World War I trees for all the surrounding villages as well. So I don't think we'd need them all around the parish. If you had to have a second place in the parish, I don't think you need lots of different spots, so one would do.
Okay, thank you very much. Standing orders reinstated. David?
Yeah, just to clarify, I mean, the beauty about this scheme is that all the tree whips are pre-ordered, so we know not only what we need to buy, but we also know who wants what. So I think, you know, if you're minded to support this, and Melksham Without similarly, then we can simply work with Teresa and actually work out where the most logical pickup points are. And it'd be just like going to a supermarket. You do it on a socially distancing basis. That, you know, the recipients would come and they would pick the tree whips, you know, one out of each bucket, and then just wrap them in some damp newspaper and go. I don't think we'll have any problems doing it on a social distance basis. And Teresa's already suggested we could perhaps use the Melksham office site as one of the pickup points if necessary. But I think it'll depend on who wants to take part and where they live, to be honest.
Okay, Vanessa, and then we'll...
Can I also make just a quick suggestion? Can we also look at doing it over 2 days for the pickup as opposed to 1 day? Because there are a lot of people that couldn't make it on that particular day.
Yep, okay.
Just a suggestion.
You can certainly try. I mean, the key thing in all this, though, Vanessa, is to keep the roots of the tree whips moist. So
yeah, of course.
Yes, I mean they'll last a couple of days, but any more than that, then they start to dry out, and then they'll start to fail.
Right. Okay. Righty ho. So we've got the proposal. Let's have the votes, please. Thank you very much. For everybody for. Lovely. Thank you very much. And the next item is area board boundary review, in which you are invited as a member of the public or the council. Is it the council this time? Yeah. To make any to respond as individuals. If members would also like a collective response to advise the clerk. I mean, do we need to get together to talk about this? It's done and dusted, isn't it? John, advise me, please.
Chair, I was going to say, I'd just like to stress, Chair, this review is with regards to the changes to the area boards. So this isn't relating to the boundary review of the new boundaries that we will be fighting the elections on next year. This is because of the changes to the county boundaries and Wiltshire Council's constitution saying that no electoral division can be in more than one area board. Then they are changing, updating the area boards. So the net result of that will mean that in the Melksham community area, we will lose Atworth to Bradford-on-Avon.
Yeah.
And we will lose Seamed, Bulkington, and I think it's Paulshot to Devizes.
Yeah.
So the Melksham community area geographically will shrink, although in terms of the number of residents will remain pretty much the same because of the additional housing that there's been, and the fact that the town will now have 3.5 Wiltshire councillors instead of 3.
Okay, right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Just move that we note.
Yep. Yep. Second that. Yep. Right. Great. Lovely. And then we come to the motions. Right. To consider the following motion from Councillor Wiltshire, that the council reinstates its health working group meetings. Do you want to speak on this, Richard?
We've missed an agenda item out.
Have we? Oh, right. I've got the early one.
14.
Oh, right. To consider the Melksham Town Council representative on Melksham Charities. Yes, now that Caroline's left, we need another one. Mike?
Oh, bloody hell.
Thank you, Chair. All it is really just to, we could actually, it occurs to me, we could ask Caroline Andrews to still represent the Town Council on the Board of Trustees of Melksham Charities. I think it is possible for somebody who's not a member of the council to represent us. So I would just suggest that we contact Caroline or write to Caroline and ask her if she's still happy to represent us on the Board of Trustees. If she is, all well and good. If not, then obviously we need to put somebody else.
I'm a bit confused. If she's not on the council anymore, how can she do that? But shouldn't we check with Russell as well? And Linda's got something to add.
Can I just say Caroline Andrews is literally about to move from Melksham in the next couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, she's going to move. Yeah.
Sorry, you will say that, Linda, will you?
Yeah, but is what Mike said correct, Linda?
Yes, I mean it's up to the council who it appoints as a representative, because they have,
I see. Right.
But as Councillor Westbrook's just said, that Caroline's actually moving out of Melksham.
Right. Okay, John, and then Vanessa.
Yeah, I just wonder, I mean, obviously all of these will be up again in May with the new council. And unless there's anybody who's dying to do the job, it's what would the impact be of that just remaining unfilled until May?
Right.
I don't know how often Melksham Charities meets.
It's not a huge impact, is it, Mike? Because we don't actually meet very often. And quite often, if there is something to discuss, we just do a round robin on the emails. I mean, we don't have regular meetings. We only have them when we need to. So it's not a huge issue, is it, Mike?
No, you're correct, Chair. It's not a huge issue. I think it's just something that the council needs to consider and decide what, if anything, we wish to do at this stage.
Right, I think I'll go along with what John said and just leave it for the moment, and the new council can grapple with it when they're re-elected, if and when they're re-elected. Is that okay with everybody?
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Can we at least ask if there's any other councillors that would like to take up the post?
Yeah, we can ask. It's not arduous, I can assure you, and it's quite interesting. It's not as tedious as it sounds, not at all. Jeff?
I'd be happy to do it if otherwise just leave it as it is.
All right, okay. Well, we'll put your name forward then. I can assure you, you won't be overworked. Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Can we have a vote on that? So we make it a resolution, please.
Okay, right. All those in favour of Jeff? Well done, Jeff. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, now the motion. Right, so Richard, would you like to talk about your reinstatement of the Health Working Group meeting? Please don't make it too long.
Just a point of order, Chair. Do you want to say whether you have a conflict of interest in this because you are chairing the area board group?
No, I'm not now, Richard. I'm not now.
Yes, I've proposed this. I've put the reasons forward that we had a very successful working group in 2019, and this was functioning, involving the surrounding councils as well. We involved all our local practice, medical practices and dental practices, and some of the nursing homes were helping as well, or were joining in as well. So we had quite a good group to consider health matters within Melksham. And I think this is very important for this council to offer our assistance to our medical teams in this matter. There are lots of issues now, particularly youngsters being overweight and various other issues which the council can contribute quite a lot to helping the medical setup. We also have changes in the number of doctors we have operating in the town, which some of us may wish to question this because of the increasing numbers in the town. So there are quite a few issues, I think. We only ever had this group meeting every 6 months, but it was very useful from our point of view, and I understand very useful from the doctor's point of view. So I would propose that we reinstate the health working group, and I seek a seconder.
Right.
I'll second that. I'll
Sorry,
second that. I'll second that.
Okay, right. Okay. Would anybody else like to have a say about it? Is that your hand up, Terry? Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with Richard that this was an excellent working group and we had very good dialogues. We were aware of St. Damian's and they explained the reasonings for it. You know, if we don't have any such working group, things can happen that we as a council have no knowledge of. So I think to work with the health officers, whether it's be care homes or anything, and it would possibly have been very helpful in these present circumstances. So I would agree that it is something that's very necessary. Thank you.
Right, thanks. And Sue?
Yes, I completely agree with everything that's been said so far. I would like to see this committee back on board, or working group, whatever you want to call it. Is there any mileage in asking the parish if they would care to join our deliberations, as they are all affected by health provision in the town?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah, very good idea.
Could I just answer Sue's question that we have always involved Ashworth Parish Council, Broughton Gifford Parish Council, and the surrounding parish council, Melksham Without, which is the area covered by our local doctors team, which we have 19 doctors in the town at the moment, but only one is full-time. You might be interested to know. But we do need to cover the area in parish councils which is affected by our doctors' teams.
Okay, Vanessa, you wanted to speak? And
Yeah,
then
I was going to ask, who's our area board health? Is it
Nick.
It's Nick. Okay, lovely.
Health and wellbeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no, that's good. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the general feeling appears to be that this is a good thing to do. Where do we go from here? Would you like to be in charge of it? Is I think the next question.
Sorry, Chair.
Vote on this, Chair. Obviously,
do we vote on it first?
Vote on it first, yeah, and then decide who is going to
I'm
take.
happy to carry. I was chair of this some years ago, so I'm happy to continue it if required. But it will be up to the group to decide.
Right. Okay. Let's first of all approve it. Then, who's for the motion? Hands up. Thank you very much. John, you're not in favour? Oh, you are. Right, okay. I think that's everybody. Lovely. Clive, did you have your hand up? I've missed it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks. right, that's everybody, and now we move on to Richard, would you like to take the lead in this?
Hello?
Right, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm happy to lead it as far as the council is concerned. We don't meet very often, I say about every 6 months, but it will involve calling in others to agree a meeting with the health groups and others. So, but I'm happy to lead from town council point of view.
Okay, right, Vanessa and then Terry.
I was just going to ask, how many councillors do you need to represent Melksham Town Council on this?
I think we only had 2, and then 2
Two.
from Melksham Without, and 2 from Atworth, and 2 from Broughton Gifford.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to be on it then?
What about Sue?
I think Martin is quite keen. He's not here at the moment, but he was always quite keen on this group.
Right.
Can we
Martin, excuse me, Chair, if Martin declines, if being offered, if he declines, I'm happy to support Richard and go forward on it.
Okay, right, Vanessa?
And we can always sub out for each other as well if certain people can't attend as well.
Yeah, okay, right. Is everybody happy with that? Do I need to vote on that?
Yeah.
Do we need to vote?
Terry?
No, just voting.
Oh, right, okay. Right, is everybody happy with that then? That Richard leads, that we ask Martin, and who was the other person?
Richard.
Sue said if Martin can't do it, that she'd be happy to, but we
Yeah.
can all sub. Anybody can sub really if can't make it.
All right, so all in favour of that course of action? Lovely, thank you very much. Thank you, Richard. And where are we now? Is that the end of it?
No.
No, Canal Working Group.
Let's say where's page 16 gone? Oh God, here we are. Right, here we go. Right, 15.2.
14.2, Chairman.
Sorry?
14.2, is the canal motion.
Yeah, I've just found it, yeah. Right, that the council reinstates the canal working group comprising this council, Melksham Without PC, Atworth PC, Broughton Gifford PC, Semington PC and other partners. And the reason this group was active prior to the Wilkes and Berks Melksham Link planning application in 2012. This planning application is soon to be resolved and there are several issues of joint interest that will arise from this. Right, would you like to speak, Richard?
Thank you. I think most of you councillors are aware of this issue. It's been going on for many, many years. It's talked about many many of the operatives or the helpers of the canal group are pushing wheelbarrows, but said that eventually they'll be pushing up daisies before this is finished. It is a very long, but we have the Melksham link, which is very important for Melksham. That planning application was submitted 8 years ago, but it's coming close to completion. They're just counting the slugs and the toads and the little beasties across the land, I think, to make sure it's not going to be adverse to them. So when that issue is now approved, there will be quite a few joint matters to consider from Melksham point of view and the other parishes point of view. That's Semington, Melksham Without, Atworth and adjoining areas. And I think that will be quite a few items to discuss and hopefully eventually it will move on. Thank you.
Okay, right. Would other people like to add their comments, make points? Sue? And then
yes, thank you. I'm the Town Council's representative on the Canal Trust at the moment. Obviously, not a lot has happened either in the way of meetings or activity on Melksham Link during lockdown. There have been 2 meetings, one just recently. Obviously, we're hoping things will pick up and there'll be more activity on site. But they're still very active in other areas, particularly around Swindon and the M4 junction. I would like to support Richard's suggestion that this group be reformed, and that's it really.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else want to speak? Vanessa and then Terry.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is something that we need to absolutely support. And I think one of the things that perhaps we could suggest is, you know, David, I know your plate is already very, very full, but if anybody doesn't know, David has extensive expertise in dealing with canals. And I feel like this also sort of plays into the whole economic development role as well, because if we can get this through Melksham, could you imagine how amazing it would be? David, just in case everybody doesn't, do you want to talk about, you know, your experience with canals?
Yeah, it all started with a chance dinner in Milton Keynes, and it developed very quickly into the organisation I worked for, managing the restoration and maintenance of 400 miles of canal in the UK network. And one of the reasons I came to Melksham in the first place was that I knew the area because I was a project director for the restoration and the rewatering of the Kennington Avon Canal. And I spent years down in this part of the world working on that waterway, and was actually project director for a number of similar projects around the country. I moved on from that work, and 2 years later was approached by British Waterways to come back and help them with their canal project work. So my wife and I set up our own consultancy business to do that work, and we were the only specialist consultancy in the UK to work with navigation authorities and engineering contractors and the regulator to basically to dredge and to restore the canal banks of lakes and waterways and navigable rivers around the UK. So, and then all of a sudden the regulations changed about 8 or 9 years ago, and the last really big job I did was some work on the Bude Canal, the Bude District Council down in Cornwall, to open up the canal again to improve the economics of the visitor offer in Bude. So that's kind of my background, and I went from there into I had a parallel stream running in economic development, market town restoration and regeneration. So that's my background. I know a fair bit about canals. So thank you for that, Vanessa. Was that the right thing to say?
Yeah, because it means that we can get your help with this, because obviously we need to vote on it, but it's a brilliant piece of work that needs to be done, especially for the long-term plan for Melksham. So
I think it's got to be said, sorry Chair, so it's got to be said that if the Melksham link came off, the economic benefit to Melksham would be substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very exciting project. Right, Richard, and then Terry.
Me.
Not Terry, just Richard.
I just thank David for his contribution, and both Sue and I have been on the partnership meeting. That's the Wiltshire, Oxford and Swindon partnership, which is working for the whole length of the Wilson Parks Canal. It's 55 miles in total length, and the Swindon are very keen to get it into the centre of the town. Chippenham are also really keen to get it into Chippenham, and Cowan are happy to have a branch running into Cowan. So there's a lot of interest in it. And I know the Wilson Barks is, I think, has 2,500 members at the moment helping with the scheme. The Kennington Avon, as David mentioned, is now very much an important part of the towns and the villages it goes through, and it brings in about £25 million to Wiltshire, I think. And it's that's the amount it earns for the Wiltshire Council running through our area. So there's an awful lot of tourism money and other income available from these canals once you get them up and running. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Richard. Right. So where are we going with this?
Speak.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, you did want to speak.
You ignored me 3 times.
Well, sorry, Terry, but I thought you were saying no.
No. Right. I would agree with everything that's already been said about this canal and the Melksham link. This has been going on for so long. As a town council, we have been supportive of this venture. As has been said, the economic benefit to this town would be enormous, as well as providing links within the countryside for walking. You know, Laycock is just a few yards away, as it were, but it's extremely difficult to walk or cycle there because there are no roads that are traffic free. But by having a canal and a towpath, it would be a huge link. So I would be very, very supportive of this. Thank you. Is that it?
Okay. So Sue, is the and Richard, so is the group still on, or what's happened to it?
The link application has been in with Wiltshire Council for 8 years now, but it's nearing completion.
Right.
So I think there will be issues for us to decide once the application is approved, we can then move on and discuss how it will affect Melksham and the surrounding areas.
So do we have to wait until it's approved before the group reforms, or how do you see this panning out?
Well, I think it's going to be approved within a matter of weeks or months. Once we can call a meeting anytime soon, and then discuss how we will deal with the application once it's approved.
Right. So who was the chair of it?
Again, I've chaired local meetings, but it could be anyone of these councils or anyone else who's involved in the group, because it does involve
might have been Davina. It was so long ago.
Yeah. So what action are we going to take as a result of this discussion this evening?
Form a working group.
Form a working group, right. So who would like to be on it or in it? Right, so that's Jeff, Terry, Sue, presumably Richard. Anybody else?
How many members do you need?
Yeah, how many do we need?
As many as are interested, basically.
Okay. I'd like to be a part of that. Can David help us as well? David, like I said, I know your plate's very full, but could you help us with this?
Right, okay. So have we got a motion here?
Members from Melksham without as well, obviously the other parishes.
Yeah.
So, it'll be a wider than Melksham group.
Oh, right, okay. And I'd like to be there, but I don't want to be too involved. I've got so many other things to do, but I'd like to know keep up with, know what's going on. So if I might be allowed to come to some of the meetings, that would be great. Okay, so do we need to take a vote on all this? Somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Would you like to just put your hand up if you're in favour of this group and the members who are currently yeah, right, lovely, thank you, and myself as well. That's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. Okay, lovely, everybody. Right, thank you.
Can I just ask who seconded that?
Nobody, actually. Oh, Sue.
I did.
Sue.
Okay,
Sue
I
did.
didn't see that. Oh yeah, that was right at the beginning, wasn't it? Yeah. Right, okay. Now that is all until we've got 2 more items, 16 and 17, and they're both confidential. So I think it's time to call the meeting to an end as far as members of the public are concerned. So thank you for attending, and good night.